What's up, Ragin Nation? How's it going? This is Alex Yu, and you're watching the TF Movie Show. This is just a web series where we're talking about the Transformers live-action movie franchise. This is episode number 66, and I'm really excited to bring you guys this episode of the TF Movie Show because this is the very first episode of this year, 2021. We are in January 25th now. That's what today's date is, and I'm finally bringing you guys another episode of the TF Movie Show. And I'm so thankful you guys are still around for these updates, because as long as they keep on making these films, this channel is going to continue existing, because these films really excite me and I love talking about them. And I hope you guys love hearing about it because I have a lot to say. And while I don't always have news to talk about, because this episode doesn't really have any actual news, I just love providing you guys with my personal thoughts about the upcoming film and these films, because I think people are really excited about these films. These films get people really excited and happy, and just give people a lot of energy when they watch it, because once you see these amazing sequences happen, you're like, wow! It makes people crazy. Anyways, now this episode, I don't necessarily have any news for you guys per se, but I do want to share with you guys some thoughts. And we got Transformers 7, that's what I'm calling it, until they give it an official name. We have Transformers 7 happening and being released in summer of 2022, which means, based on our experience with the production of the Transformers films, principal photography rather, would happen in either late spring or early summer. Okay? So, based on that schedule, they must be in pre-production right now. Now, the thing is that I'm still not 100% sure which film they're making. Are they making Bumblebee 2, a Transformers film, or a Beast Wars film? There's no confirmation of either. Okay, I know you've seen some news out there, but I still don't buy it. So, I'm not sure what's really coming out. I'm hoping for a Bumblebee 2 film. However, if they ended up giving any of the other ones, I'm totally down with it. My thoughts is that I want to see Bumblebee 2 just because I really enjoyed Bumblebee. I'm not ready to see a big Transformers film because I'd like a slower build up to the big Transformers film. As in, like, I want to see more of these character movies before we get into the big Avengers style film. You know what I'm saying? And as for Beast Wars, I have the least connection to it because I didn't watch Beast Wars. And should they decide to announce that the next film is a Beast Wars film, then I will actually watch every season of Beast Wars to get myself ready for the Beast Wars film, like an eventual Beast Wars films. In any case, I don't really know what it is, but I do know one thing. Stephen Caple Jr. is the director for it. Now, when I saw the announcement last year about Stephen Caple Jr. directing this film, my very first thought was, okay, I'm glad that we have a brand new director, but my question is this guy a Transformers fan? Is he a Transformers fan? Did he grow up watching Transformers in some shape or form? Like, did he read the comics? Did he watch G1? Did he watch Transformers Prime at some point in his, the later part, in his life, right? Like, is he a fan of anything about Transformers? Because we've seen 6 films already in this live-action franchise, 5 of which are from Michael Bay, 1 of which is from Travis Knight. Now, out of all those films, out of those 2 directors, one of them is actually a fan of G1. One of them is actually somebody who grew up watching the Transformers the original cartoons, and that's Travis Knight. Michael Bay, on the other hand, he had to go through Transformers school. He actually thought that Transformers was a silly toy thing. He referred to it as is it that Small Soldiers movie? Or yeah, is it like a Small Soldiers thing for kids? So he didn't know very much about it, but what he ended up creating was a successful movie franchise, a successful science fiction robot movie franchise that made a lot of movie. It divided the fans, but at the end of the day, it's all about money. He made a big movie. The Last Night was unfortunately not a financial success, but for the most part, the 4 films that came before The Last Night was a huge financial success. The studios didn't have a problem with the negative criticism. They loved the money and they kept on wanting to bring them back. It was only until The Last Night, which was an expensive film, ended up being a failure, that they decided, okay, it's time to move on. Like, this run of Transformers is done. Now we're going to move on to something new. And what is the next best thing to do? Hire somebody like Travis Knight who actually is a fan of Transformers and inject new life into this franchise. It ended up being a much smaller film, made for a smaller budget and made much less money, but it was a hit among critics, fans, G1 fans, and it was also a financial success. When you look at it from a perspective, as in, like, with the amount they spend, they actually made this amount of money, and it's all relative. Okay, if you spend like 400 million on a film and only make 600 million, that's not a lot of money. Okay, but when you spend 100 million and make 400 or so plus million, that's actually a lot of money. That ends up being a big success. Okay, so it's all relative. In any case, we've already seen what it's like for two different directors to direct Transformers from two different backgrounds. One without being a fan of Transformers, and one who is a very passionate fan of Transformers. And the end result of the latter ended up being a very beloved film. And the fans wanted more of that. The G1 fans absolutely wanted more of that, and they felt that, okay, this is how Transformers can resurrect itself in a way. All right, Michael Bay's version, I don't really have a problem with it. It is flawed, but I don't hate the franchise. I'm not a fan at all whatsoever of The Last Night, but I still have a lot of fun with the other films. Revenge of the Fallen is not a good film at all, but there's still some great moments, like the forest fight. And I appreciate what Michael Bay is trying to do. He took a property and made it his own. He made it evolve. It kind of took a life of its own, and he gave it its own identity. While Travis Knight's Bumblebee film does have influences from Michael Bay's Transformers, he still stuck to the core of G1, and that is robots in disguise. And the idea of Autobots helping humans and having that heart, that human connection, that's there. That's something we ended up connecting with. It was a little bit harder to connect with Michael Bay's Transformers characters from a human standpoint because that emotional level wasn't reached. But Travis Knight was able to achieve that. In any case, having a Transformers film, like a live-action franchise, having its own identity is not a bad thing. G1 has its own identity. Transformers Prime has its own identity. The Unicron trilogy, Robots in Disguise, they all have their own identity. It doesn't have to be based off of G1. It is only when they decided that The Last Night was a failure, the last film failed the franchise, that they decided we should maybe go back to our roots. Okay? And they saw that it works. I'm rambling on. This video has been going on for 8 minutes. Now, what I'm trying to get at is that, like I said before, I'm not sure if Stephen Caple Jr. is a Transformers fan, but if he isn't, okay, what is the next best thing? And that is him being a good storyteller. I haven't seen much of his work. I've only seen one of his films, and that is Creed 2. Great film, by the way. Really great story development, great character development, gave a lot of great direction to his actors, and ended up being a great film. So I'm really happy about that. I feel that if a director is not a fan of the original source material, at least be a good storyteller. And Stephen Caple Jr. is a great storyteller, at least for his latest film, which is Creed 2. Now, I did a little bit of research, okay, and I want to talk about this a little bit more in detail. I watched Creed 1 and Creed 2, okay? And this was just for not only my personal enjoyment, but to get to know Stephen Caple Jr. a little bit more. Now, Ryan Coogler ended up directing this one. He ended up directing the awesome Black Panther. So Ryan Coogler directed this one. Stephen Caple Jr., who's directing Transformers 7, directed this one. Now, why did I watch them both? Well, there's something very similar. There's something very similar in what is going on here. Because Creed is actually to Rocky where Bumblebee is to Transformers, Michael Bay's Transformers, in a sense. Okay, let's look at it that way. Okay, because the Rocky franchise has existed for like, I think since the late 70s. Okay, late 70s, and then it went on to spawn many, many sequels after that, and then it stopped. It stopped for a number of years, and then the studios decided, hey, we want to inject. Actually, it was Sylvester Stallone. He wanted to, like, he's very passionate about the Rocky character, but he wanted to inject new life. He couldn't keep on making sequels of this same character. He's gonna fight till he dies, right? So what is he gonna do? So, you know, there's of course the cliche thing of rebooting the franchise, or there's the cliche thing of bringing in a young cast, okay? But he didn't do that, okay? What he did is he continued the story of Rocky Balboa, but he did it through the eyes of a character that could have potentially existed, or actually did potentially exist during the time of actually no, he wouldn't have existed during the time of the Rocky universe, okay? And that is Apollo Creed's son, Adonis Creed, okay? And ended up making this this new timeline for, not a new timeline, a new character in an existing timeline. And guess what? It was super nostalgic. Okay, Ryan Coogler gave us a super nostalgic film, which leads us to Creed 2, directed by Stephen Caple Jr. Okay? Now the big question when making a sequel is that, how is he gonna make it better? And if he doesn't make it better, then at least make it good. All right, at least make it as good as, if it can't be better than the previous film. And why do I feel that watching Creed 2 is a very appropriate comparison for him directing Transformers 7? Is because Rocky is a nostalgic piece of storytelling. Rocky is a nostalgic property. Creed 2 brought a lot of nostalgia. It was very successful in bringing back a lot of nostalgia from the Rocky films. And not only was it a fantastic sequel to the first film, it still didn't forget where it came from. It brought back a lot of Easter eggs from the original films. It did a lot of callbacks, which made a lot of Rocky fans very, very happy. Gave me goosebumps, in fact. But at the same time, it wasn't trying to outdo the original, and by original I mean Creed, not Rocky. It wasn't trying to outdo Creed. It was trying to how can I say this? To make another film, not forget where it came from, and also introduce new elements that would excite the fans. And I feel that as long as Stephen Caple Jr. does that with, I don't know if it's going to be Bumblebee, okay? But let's just say it's Bumblebee. As long as Stephen Caple Jr. does what Bumblebee did for Transformers, we're on the right track here, okay? Like I said before, I don't know if Stephen Caple Jr. is actually a fan of Rocky. I don't know if he went through Rocky, did a Rocky marathon before he decided to do Creed 2. I'm pretty sure he did. But I don't know if he was a fan of the original Rockies. Now, as for Transformers, like I said before, I still don't know if he's an original fan of Transformers, but he did do a fantastic job directing a sequel to a nostalgic property from the 80s. He did a good job with that. And what did he do? He didn't try to be overly ambitious in trying to outdo the original. All he did is, like I said, introduce new elements that would keep it fresh and introduce new nostalgic elements. I think that Stephen Caple Jr. is the right person for the job. He is the right director for this job. I don't know if he's a fan, but as long as he uses that formula of storytelling that he applied from from Creed 2, we're on the right track here. So the key is to bring in new elements, bring in nostalgia, and also take what the previous director did, Travis Knight. Take some of the teachings from Travis Knight and go with that. So consulting Travis Knight, consulting Michael Bay on the visual sense of things, right? you know, we're gonna probably see a little bit of those fingerprints in the next film. But I think that I have faith in this director now. A lot of people are saying like, bring back Travis Knight, bring back Michael Bay. I actually want to see a fresh new director. I want to see a fresh new take, a fresh new vision. Okay, I would be happy to see Travis Knight back. I won't be so happy about Michael Bay being back, just because I've already seen 5 films of his, and I'm ready for something different, because essentially all 5 films are kind of the same. So it's something that I'm ready to move on from. In fact, I have moved on from that. So for those that want to see the Michael Bay return, let's just watch something different. For those that want to see Travis Knight return, I would love to see that, but the decision's already been made. As for those who are ready to see a fresh new vision, I think that you should have faith in this new director. I think that you should have confidence, have faith, and then have an open mind, because I think what he's going to give us is, if you enjoyed Creed 2, I think you're going to enjoy the 7th installment of this film. These are the thoughts that I just want to give. I think that you guys should watch Creed 1 and Creed 2. Creed 1's directed by Ryan Coogler. Great film. Creed 2, directed by Stephen Caple Jr. It just, it continued the story, but it just brought in so many new elements where it kept it fresh. Because one of the things that about these films, these boxing films, is that you got the same character, you got same supporting characters, you got the same type of the setting, which is like boxing, but how are you going to change things up? And he did enough that was more than just changing the opponent. He did more than that. All right. He brought in the elements that made the first one great, but then he brought in like a more emotional element to it. And I think that, like I said before, if he keeps that formula, we're on the right track. I'm repeating myself here, but I'm really excited for him. I really have faith in him, and I'm really excited for this new vision. I'm excited for him to take on this new this genre, this like huge science fiction genre, this big budget genre. I'm really excited for him. Like, from one creator to another, even though he's on a completely another level, like, I'm excited to take on new things, and I hope he's going to be, like, I'm sure he's excited to take on this new big project. There's a lot of riding on this, because, Bumblebee set a new bar in terms of storytelling and in terms of pleasing the fans. I wonder what he's going to do for us. So, oh man, I'm so pumped. And I hope this video got you all pumped. I think he's right for the job. I hope that what I said can convince you to have an open mind. And with that being said, if you do end up having an open mind and being positive about this, you can get even more excited about the next film. Because I know a lot of people, I've seen some people jump off the train. As in, like, oh man, no Michael Bay, no Travis Knight, forget about it. I've seen that. I've read comments about that. I hope people can get back on the train, because, like, the journey is a huge part of this of the movie. You know what I'm saying? Like the riding the train is just a huge part. Watching the production, watching the reports. And following all the different news, and it's really exciting. I can't wait to do all that all over again with you guys, as I've done for Dark of the Moon and Age of Extinction and Transformers Last Night. Bumblebee was a lot smaller, so it was a little bit harder to cover that, but I think this one's going to be on the same level, because they're definitely going to make it bigger. They're going to give them a bigger budget to work with, and it's definitely going to be a bigger film, because one of the big things about sequels is that how can they make it bigger? And if they're not gonna make it bigger, but at least make it better. Anyways, that's all I gotta say in this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I didn't really have any real news for you guys, but stay tuned for my next episode, because we're gonna talk about some little news tidbits, and I want to share with you guys my feedback about that. So stay tuned, that's coming up very soon. As always, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe, show me some support, and also follow me on my different social media platforms, Instagram and on Twitter. I will see you next time. My name is Alex Yu. Peace.